I wanted to first say that Councilmember Campion will be teleconferencing us from Hawaii. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Singleton?
Here.
Payne?
Present.
Campion?
Here.
Cruz?
Here.
Powers?
Here. Okay, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer and then the flag salute, and we'll ask Chief Bowen to please start the salute after 1 moment of prayer.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess I should state that there was no closed session today. Would you please read the video statement, Liz?
This meeting of the Galt City Council is being videotaped in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption on Metro Cable 14, the Government Affairs channel, on the Comcast and SureWest cable system. Tonight's meeting can be seen on Channel 14 and will also be webcast at www.saxmetrocable.tv this Friday and Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Tonight's meeting can also be seen via live video streaming on the city's website at www.ci.galt.ca.us. A DVD copy is also available for checkout from any library branch. Members of the audience wishing to address council should fill out a speaker identification form and give it to the clerk. Please speak into the microphone when addressing council and state your name for the record.
Thank you, Liz. Any agenda approval, additions, or deletions, council?
I have just a couple items. When you approve the minutes on the consent calendar, there is a housekeeping item just changing that the meeting was called to order and adjourned by the Vice Mayor. And I'd also like to pull the successor agency warrants, item I-3B. And not for discussion, there just are no warrants.
Okay. Okay, moving right along, we have the Galt Planning Commission Annual Report. Chairperson Dees.
Good evening. I think you all got the report. Do you any questions or anything? I don't know what they want. This is the first time they've had a report from the Planning Commission apparently, so I was told.
Well, I think it was a great job. You had everything concisely in there for all the meetings. Maybe you'd like to tell us who else was on the commission.
Okay. Well, we've got get their names right. Currently, I'm Bob Dees, the chair. Craig Morris, the vice chair. Alfredo Rodriguez sitting over there as a member also. Ken Erickson and Paul Sandu. They're the current planning this year.
Okay. Council, any questions on the report? No. I guess that was short and sweet, Council.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Thank you very much. It was a good report. Okay, now we're at the Galt Area Committee for Character in Sports.
That's a tough act to follow. I have a handouts here that I'll be able to cover things a lot faster.
Thank you, sir. That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good evening. We've been here before to you some time ago. My name is Jack Jenkins, and I'm the chair of the the committee that organized for developing character in sports. What this is, I'm going to try to be very brief, but first of all, I want to thank you for your support. The City of Galt has been really great with the Department of Rec and Parks, and Jason, and Barbara Payne. Several people in the city have been very helpful. We've worked with the high school district as well as the city, and very briefly, what I handed out to you here is something that I'm not going to read to you, but inside it talks about what we're about, our goals, our objectives, things that are inside. This was a handout at one of our fundraisers, and rather than for me to read this to you, I just want to mention these because this is what we're about. And basically, what we did is we raised over $5,000 in less than a year's time. I'm really proud of this, of our committee. I'm a graduate of Galt High School myself. The community and the school system gave me a really good start, and I went on to college and some other things in life, and I owe a lot of that to my preparation here. So it's kind of a neat thing to come back and try to give back to the community. The other handout that I've given to you does talk specifically about two or three things. We were part of a group that worked with the Positive Coaching Alliance, which is a national nonprofit, and they are the ones we contracted with for our speakers and workshop leaders. And in the information here, you will see that we donated money to Galt High School District, and they had a workshop for coaches in August and an evening. And as it says there, they had 39, I believe, coaches from one of the high schools here, and at Liberty Ranch, 36 from Liberty Ranch and 29 from Galt High School. And they were real positive about the feedback, that they being the coaches. So there's three areas that we determined that we were going to address. One were the coaches, developing positive attitudes and modeling, and then also taking that to the students. But a third leg on that is the parents. We really believe that parents need to have some training, and they're the models for our kids. It's all about character. And I was fortunate to raise two young men that went through major college and on to professional baseball. So I was eyewitness to all those things in Little League and all of high school, and you see some coaches and some parents that weren't very good models of what we want to see in our kids. So when you go through sports, there's an opportunity for young people to learn a lot of the things in life that we have to deal with, the discipline, sportsmanship, losing as well as winning. So we want our coaches to model that. We want our parents to model that. And really the belief I have and our committee has is if we start with them as young players, boys and girls in youth sports, then all the way through you foster that, and hopefully by high school with the same kind of training, our kids will get a better shot at life with a better, well-rounded character. The bottom line is we want to have kids that understand the person you are, the success you are, is determined not by winning a trophy. It may be that you're the hardest working kid. I'll cite there, we gave 4 scholarships this year, 2 to Galt High School and 2 to Liberty, for kids that demonstrated character in sports. The kids that demonstrated character weren't the all-stars necessarily. We had one young man, didn't miss one practice, and he was actually hurt during the season, and he still went out every day to that practice, and he helped out the managers and everything else. And so the kind of culture we want to change, you mentioned there, we want to change that culture, because as we look at the television on weekends with the NFL and some of the things that are going on with Major League Baseball, you know what I'm talking about. Our kids look up to that. Those are not the heroes, the ones that are not behaving themselves. We want the heroes to be our mom and dads, coaches, and other community members. and that's what it's all about. So I've kind of just thrown that in and summarized it. I do want to say I appreciate, again, Jason and Barbara tonight, Bonnie and Al back here. I don't know if anybody else is on our committee, but thank you for your support too. We really feel strongly that we're trying to figure out a way to work this so that this continues. That's our goal, and we want to try and work with other community groups that are trying to help kids. And I've met with the chief, and we're kind of discovering some things. Maybe we can work in conjunction with them as well. So, without anything further, I just wanted to cite those that are the leaders in our community that are doing things, and it's the good news for you, because we have so much other kind of news that isn't so good. But this is good news, and I'm happy and I'm thrilled to come back to you and say thank you for your support, and hopefully we'll have a report every year that things get better and better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jack, before you leave, you were terrific to recognize everybody else, but they need to recognize all the time and effort you put in on this organizing it. It came from you. And you live in Stockton. And here you are back in Galt trying to make things better in our community. So you certainly deserve a lot of credit. And I can tell you from the meetings I attended, I could tell that your heart was still in Galt.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, the Galt High School PESD Academy Fallen Heroes Memorial.
Mayor, if I can introduce our group, go ahead and come on up, and I'll do a little preview here, and then let the students and Mrs. Crane take over the presentation. The council, I'm sure, is familiar with this. This is the model of the Kevin Ton Memorial that has been worked on by the high school students. But let me back up a little bit. This started tragically earlier this year with the shooting death of our officer Kevin Ton. It brought the community together in a lot of ways that we didn't anticipate. And one of the things we've heard from a lot of people is wanted to build something in our community that was going to last, that was going to be in his memory. And there were a lot of early ideas and thoughts. It started with a dog park over near the shooting site. And eventually the council decided to appoint an ad hoc committee made up of 2 members of our Parks and Recreation Committee, Janice Ruthinger and Brennan Moore, and 2 members of our City Council, Vice Mayor Singleton and Councilmember Cruz. We had a meeting at the Parks and Rec building. Members of the community were invited to participate in what that memorial might look like. A lot of different ideas, a lot of locations, and ultimately it was decided by the group that we wanted to have this permanent memorial and that it should be here at City Hall, kind of a central location for the community. And you know, the group didn't have any money, didn't really know the next steps, and we knew one of the big things was going to be designing this memorial. What is this going to look like? What is it going to represent? And so we turned to the high school district and asked if there would be a group there that might be interested in helping to design this memorial. I thought it would be great to get some of the students involved, and we knew of the great work done by Deborah Crane and her program, the Best Academy over at Galt High School. And this was towards the end of the school year. I know they were really busy with finals and all this stuff, but they jumped on it, and in a very short period of time, they put together an outstanding design. And I know the kids were really excited to participate. I think some of the members of the committee went to their class at the end of last year, and they presented it to us. And we're glad they agreed to come back and make this presentation to the city council. And once they make their presentation, I know you guys are all anxious to kind of see what they've been up to. I also want to take a little time just to talk about the fundraising efforts that are going on in the community. Afterwards, Lynn Hutchinson is here. I'll invite her to come up, and she can talk about the nonprofit group that's been organized to do the amazing amount of fundraising that's been going on in this community. And she can talk about the group. I know they're looking for more volunteers and funding, and they've got some exciting fundraising events coming up throughout this year. So we'll give her a couple minutes just to talk about what that group's been up to. But let's go ahead and turn the time over to Deborah Crane, and it looks like her students are ready to get it kicked off. So it's all yours.
Thank you. We are from the Best Academy, and we actually are from the CEA class. It is civil engineering and architecture. And I'm Mason Hollins.
I'm Charleston Zapper.
And Natalie Lamar.
And I'm Nicholas Orwell.
And we'd like to present to you the memorial for Officer Khan. Now, this is a view of the memorial. It is, I believe, from the north view. Yes. There were two views initially. We had two views that we could, or two sides actually, that we could put this memorial at. The northern side, which is where you see those two redwoods, and the southern side, which is actually over where the entrance of the city hall is. And this is the memorial itself. As you see, there's a little water thing that we have taken out. This is because of some information that we got from the city itself, saying that the water would be a little bit too much maintenance, because it takes a lot to maintain water within a memorial. Now, as you can see here, there are 3 stone pieces to the memorial itself. Central section is a point right here, giving a small poem that can be decided on for any fallen hero or anybody that has given their time to service and police and military, anything like that. And over here we have a picture of Officer Khan and his dog Yarrow. And over here we have hearts for a plaque showing different branches of the military, because we wanted to not only say, hey, there's officers, but there's also military officers that have fallen on the line of duty. This is a backside of the memorial. You can see the greenery and name for the memorial. Here we have a view from the northern part. It is equipped with all of the features that we've had added on. Another view. And before I start to hand it off to Nick, I would like to say that originally we started with groups of 2 to design separate memorials. So I worked with Charles, Nick worked with another of our classmates, and Natalie worked with another one. And we each came up with different ideas to be incorporated into this memorial. And then at the end, we came together, took the best points of each piece, and then we kind of morphed it into one final memorial, which is what you see now. And here are some of the other views. This is what it would look like in reference to a person standing there. As you can see, it's tall enough to where you get a full feeling of the memorial, but not too tall to where it's obtrusive. I'd like to hand it off to Nick. Thank you.
Thank you. Try to use that.
Right. So part of designing this memorial, we, like as Mason briefly touched on, we split into groups, and we all did some research on other memorials that we've seen, and from there that's how we incorporated those designs that we saw, sort of took some inspiration and made what you see today. We really thought it was a good idea to not only honor Officer Tan, but also all of the fallen heroes of Galt, so we wanted to include plaques of all branches, police, military, firefighters, anyone that risks their lives to keep Galt and the world a better place. So, as you can see here, this is some of the things that we saw, we drew some inspiration from. We felt that these designs were very impactful, and they created a much better feeling of serenity and a much more powerful mood, which is very important in a memorial site. So our wall itself, we wanted to do something that wasn't ordinary. We wanted to go beyond, and we wanted to make something that was non-geometric. You can see the flowing lines and the angled walls. We wanted to just create something that wowed you, but at the same time captured your interest and made you think, reflect on the heroes of Galt. And as you can see, there is water, but that will be replaced with flowers. So we wanted to do flowers all around it, and people could lay flowers down in remembrance of their lost ones. And on the pedestal, we felt just added an extra dimension to the entire design. Not only is there a wall, but it's on a pedestal of alternating colors between black and white, and we feel it just adds that extra impact. We made the wall as tall as it is as well to sort of enclose the viewer into the area. As we stated earlier, this could be placed on the north or the south side, which was a big topic of deliberation when we made this, because the south side is a more serene environment. You're more trapped in with the trees. You feel at one with nature and peaceful. But on the north, you have the street and the other areas. So we wanted to make the wall in a way that no matter where it is, it would fit in beautifully with the surroundings and also capture your interest and block out that annoying noise so you can reflect. So here's another view of the wall. That picture of Kevin Ton would be laser engraved into the granite. And the center doesn't necessarily have to be a poem. We felt that it could be anything, a poem, inscriptions of names, anything that the city decides is best to be placed there. And the plaques on the right side for the other military, police, firefighters, just to honor everyone at once. This memorial is for Kevin Ton, but it also honors the rest of the heroes, and we wanted to make sure that that was obviously apparent. And also another point of deliberation is what material were we going to make this. Past student from the architectural engineering class, which was actually last year. He's not here today. Ryan Downer, his father is a correctional officer at Folsom Prison, and he actually knew Kevin Ton. And due to this connection, he was able to secure us a large donation, which we're very grateful for. Folsom Prison has offered to donate basically any size of granite that we could possibly need. So that helps a lot with fundraising, and it's just an immense help that we didn't count on when we first started making this, but heavily influenced our choices. I'm going to hand the mic off now to Charles.
We put 3 benches facing the wall, as you could see in the past pictures. We have multiple designs of benches. We have kind of geometric shapes of benches where they're just rectangles on pedestals, so you can sit. But we think that the curved benches are the best to kind of fit the circular pattern of the memorial. So it kind of reflects everything toward the wall, so you can see everything and it's right in front of you and kind of ties everything in. We decided to do granite for the benches because, as Nick said, that we had a giant donation of granite, so it seemed to fit and it just seemed perfect. We did flags. We have 3 flags: the California flag, the American flag, and Galt flag, all positioned behind the benches, as you can see. And we decided to attach lights to the poles, that way the flags can be stayed up at night, so that way Galt did not have to worry about taking them down and putting them back every day at night. So we did that, so it was kind of considerate, and so it's kind of did not waste time to take it up and down. We decided, well, actually Galt came to us and gave us the idea of putting inscriptions, names in the bricks, that way people could pay to donate bricks, that way they could have their fallen heroes put into the memorial. So we have different patterns that you could do with the bricks, kind of a zigzag pattern where it's lined out. But if you don't want people to walk on the bricks, you can kind of line the path with the bricks. That way it kind of leads you to the memorial. And there will be 2 pathways leading to the memorial from both sides. And I believe it's Natalie. I'll be handing it off to you.
Hi, my name's Natalie. So this is a view of the memorial kind of from the side. The center of the memorial is a brick circle, and we really wanted the bricks that Charles just mentioned to be engraved with names to really help with fundraising and also to give it an aesthetic effect. The benches along the outside would be masonry benches, and they kind of circle inward to give a enclosed feeling and make you really part of the memorial. It's a very scenic area. There's greenery all around and really closes you off from the highway or the road nearby, giving you a very serene feeling to really mourn and reflect on what these people have done for us. The circle would be around a 10-foot radius, so a good amount of space to not feel enclosed and trapped. This is a side view. You can see how much the greenery there is, as well as how beautiful it really looks. It gives you a great feeling. Here's a view from the back. The name of the memorial would be on the back. We called it the Officer Tom Memorial. You can also see the 3 flags that are closed off, giving you what these people are fighting for and what these people have died for. Galt, our state, and America. This is a view from what you would see if you were sitting at one of the benches. Like I said before, it's a beautiful area, it's very closed off, and really gives you a sense of peace. As was stated earlier, our engineering class designed this last year, and these 12 students were responsible for the ideas that you've seen tonight. And we just wanted to finish with thank you so much for your time and for Galt Council for presenting this challenge with us. Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you also for your time and your efforts. That showed great commitment. It's always wonderful to have youth included in anything that we do, and it's a beautiful conception. So thank you very much. Council, anyone else want to add anything?
I'm having a hard time speaking at this point. It's very beautiful people. I love what you guys do. Thank you.
I could not be prouder of you guys and how far you've gone and what you've done. I just, it's like you said, it's hard to say. You guys have done such a great job. And you did in such a short order. I mean, you really didn't have a whole lot of time, but it was, what, 3 weeks before school or a month before the end of school, something like that, and you guys threw some stuff together for the city. So I'm very proud of you guys, and thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I would just add that your presentations was great tonight. You have a lot of poise, and I think everyone here would like to give you some applause for your presentation.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We were all really impressed with the quality. You would never know that some high school students designed that. So really professional quality in the short amount of time. Very impressive. So the next question is next steps. How do we take this conceptual design to reality? And obviously funding is the big question. And Lynn, if you want to come up and maybe talk to us about the fundraising efforts. And while she's doing that, I'll maybe talk about some of the other things we're going to be doing. We do have one of our engineers, Bill Forrest, that's kind of taking the lead on getting taking this from the conceptual phase to breaking it down into better cost estimates, taking a look at maybe phasing it if we can't afford to build it all at once, but getting some of the major components done, and then breaking it down into elements that may be able to be constructed and donated by volunteers. Certain materials that can be donated, certainly money that can be donated, but then also other areas that really need a professional to do the installation work. And so we're kind of working on that design plan. In the meantime, the fundraising effort is well underway. So Lynn, do you want to talk to the council and the group here about what you guys have been up to?
Sure. Well, I think most of you are aware that we created a committee. We're a small committee, but we're a determined, mighty committee, and we are looking for more volunteers always, every day. The name of our organization is Community Heroes Appreciation Memorial Project. In short, it stands for CHAMP. We have some fundraising going on, and Patrick, one of our community members, is going to be talking about the fundraising that we have going on. But basically, we started with the 5K run at the Independence Day celebration. That was a huge success. It was very overwhelming. I think it was a bigger turnout than we ever expected, but it was a great day. We have something coming up, a motorcycle memorial ride coming up on October 5th, which is our next big fundraiser. And as I said, Patrick will kind of fill you in. We have some thoughts, and we are open to suggestions. But really, the biggest thing that we need are bodies. It takes an incredible amount of work to pull anything off. I mean, we need 25 volunteers on the day of the memorial ride. So if you can't commit to joining our team, if you can commit to helping us just one day at a time, we would really appreciate that. So I'm going to let Patrick tell you about our fundraising.
Good evening, Council, the rest of the city and people that are here tonight. Before we even get to telling you about the fundraising, I just want to revisit the Best Academy people and the students for what they did, not only for the city, but for us personally on the committee. Those of you on the council that attended the meetings and knew what a teeth-pulling challenge it was for us adults to do this, to have students that are not only educated and have a focus to concentrate and come up with such a design was, like Mike said, in such a short period was an incredible feat. And they definitely do need to be recognized at every turn, as well as Mrs. Crane for the you know, teaching them and carrying the ball for us on this. Briefly, I just want to go over some of the fundraising projects that we have going on. October 5th, we have a memorial poker run for motorcycle riders and classic car drivers. The run will start here in the morning at Chabola with a pancake breakfast. From there, we're going to go down to Aldo Ops down in Walnut Grove. From there, it'll go down to Rio Vista to the Buckhorn Grill. From there, and it doesn't sound like a booze ride, but you know, that's where these are our stops. And then we're going to Moore's Riverboat in Isleton. The ride will terminate and conclude over at Brewster's with a tri-tip lunch, a raffle, and an awarding of prizes for the best 5-card hand held by the participants that day. We are inviting, you know, the community at large to come participate. You don't have to go on the ride. You can come out for the meal and stuff. We just kind of need a head count and let us know ahead of time. That's October 5th. The November 23rd, we're doing what's called the Heroes Holiday Boutique, which is kind of a where we bring in crafters and people that have artistic skills over to the Littleton Center. They'll be setting up sales and booths over there, and it'll be kind of the kickoff to the holidays, again with the goal of raising funds for the champs and the memorial. Third is what I want to point out is that on a weekly basis at the Galt football games and at the Liberty Ranch football games, we do have a table set up out there. We are selling these beautiful T-shirts that I'm wearing tonight. I want everybody to have a look at them. So we encourage you guys to come out and support us by buying things that are in memoriam of Officer Ton, that go towards direct support. It is a nonprofit organization. All of our money goes directly back into building this memorial project and stuff. We want to encourage everybody here, to the members of the council, to reach out to your constituency and ask them to participate and be as generous as they possibly can to the committee. Also, the people at home, if you have not familiarized yourself with this, have a look at our website. It has all of our information on it and how you can support and participate in these projects. And in closing, I just want to say, you know, we really believe and we're fully committed to this as being a worthy community project in memory of the officers and the other community members and local heroes who give the ultimate sacrifice for our safety and for the community here, and that we hope that the project moves quickly and that we get this thing built so that we can have something that recognizes these folks in perpetuity here in the city of Galt. Thank you very much.
Patrick, can you just one more time tell us where the website?
Yeah, Lynn, can you tell us the I didn't have it written down.
For
so.
the memorial ride, it is Kevin Ton Memorial. And
it's at Yahoo, right?
Yeah, it's at Yahoo. And our website is Champ Galt. However, we're in the midst of building that. There's not, I don't know how much is there yet. We have a webmaster who's gracious to help us on his free time. So there's not a lot there, but the Kevin Ton Memorial it has the information on the ride for now.
And that's on our city, is that on our city's website too? Or are you putting the run on it?
We can put a link.
Yeah,
That
that'd
would
be
be
great.
That'd be great.
That would
yeah.
be great.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add, you know, the city manager has been great and very supportive and, you know, helped us with everything as Mike Singleton has, and we are very appreciative for the city's support in all of our efforts and help.
Patrick, just for the record, can you state your last name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick O'Flaherty.
You guys give yourselves a pat on the back,
Yeah,
too. You guys
yeah.
have done a great job.
And applause.
Thank you so much. And applause. Everybody.
Okay, so we're going to move along now. Could you please read the public comment, please, Liz?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the council on non-agenda items. Speakers may address council on any agenda items during consideration of the item. Speakers shall restrict their comments to issues that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council and limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please fill out a speaker sheet located on the table inside the entrances to the council chambers and forward the completed speaker sheet to the city clerk. Ralph Cortez. Your turn.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, my city council members. Ralph Cortez, citizen here of Galt. I just came across an article that I felt I might want to just share with you in the event it wasn't seen. I thought it was kind of interesting. This was in the Sunday Bee, source Lodi News Sentinel, and the headline read, "Phone Meeting to Address Fire Fee." Sacramento County Supervisor Don Knott Jr., who represents the Galt area, is recommending that residents listen in on a conference call regarding controversial fire prevention fee. A little late, but at 6 p.m. Tuesday, residents of Northern California counties, including Sacramento and San Joaquin, can register to learn more. Many individuals share my concern about the fairness and cost of this new tax. Board Equalization member George Runner said in a news release. These town halls are an important way to connect with my constituents, answer their questions, provide information, and discuss issues and problems with the fee. Anyone who would like to participate should register at least 24 hours in advance, and it lists a website and a phone number. And I just been kind of noting a lot of articles that involve Galt, a lot of positive. Most of them, I must say, were positive, but I just felt that I might share this with you, some sort of a fire fee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since there's we're not drawing anything off of the consent calendar, Liz, do you mind reading what they are, please?
No. 5 items tonight. Number 1, approval of the minutes of the special and regular meetings of September 3rd, 2013. Number 2, approval of the City of Galt warrants. Number 3, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Galt, California, amending Section 18.16.030, permitted and conditionally permitted uses, and Table 18.16-1 of the Galt Municipal Code and the Land Use Matrix, adding Section 8.20.035, Emergency Shelter Development Standards, and amending Section 18.92.030 and 18.92.040 definitions. Number 4, draft 2013 through 2021 housing element. And number 5, approval of the Treasurer's report for the period ending July 2013.
Do I have a motion to approve, Council?
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Sorry. Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye, but I can barely hear you.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Payne? Mayor Powers?
Aye. Okay, now we're at the strategic planning report. Okay, we're going to start off with, these are goals that we make every 6 months, the things that we'd like to do around the city. I'll read what they are, and then I'll have whoever it is speak on it. So first one is number 4, And it's by November 1st, 2013, the city manager will update the Economic Development Roadmap and have it certified by the Federal Economic Development Administration as a CEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. To you, Jason.
Very good. Well, I'm actually happy to report that we got the draft report done and emailed out to the CEDS committee this afternoon as well as the City Council. It's going to be placed on our website, and there's going to be a notice put in the Galt Herald next week. It's going to be a 30-day public review period. People, members of the public, businesses can take a look at it, make comments, and then the CEDS committee will meet the end of October to to review the comments that have been received and then to finally adopt the plan. Then that gets submitted to the Federal Department of Economic Development, and that makes the city eligible for grants associated with economic development for infrastructure projects and so forth throughout the city. So we're getting close. We're looking forward to the 30-day review period and then finally adopting at the end of this month, or the end of October, I should say.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on now to improve financial stability and maintenance of reserves. And we've got two on there. Number 2 is by September 30th. The Community Development Director, working with the Senior Building Inspector and Public Works Director, will issue the city permits for the Walmart project. Yay!
Well, good evening. My name is Chris Arias, Senior Planner with the city's Community Development Department. I am excited to let you know, I think you all know, that the building permits have been issued, and in fact, groundbreaking has taken place. So Walmart is now preparing the site and getting ready to build. If you haven't been out there lately, you'll see the site is fenced, they have their construction trailer, and they're ready to roll. So at this point, they're on target to finish construction by summer of next year, and they should be up and running by then. So we're excited that project is moving forward, and staff is committed to helping them through that process.
Thank you very much. And then number 3 is at the December 17th City Council meeting, the City Manager, working with the Public Works Director and the Council Subcommittee, will present to the City Council for action recommendations for a collection services extension and transfer station agreement with Cal Waste. Who's that? You?
That's me.
Okay.
Yep, we have met with the Council Subcommittee, which is Mayor Powers and Councilmember Campion. And we had our first meeting with Cal Waste a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, presented them, had a good discussion, presented them with some of the issues and things we wanted to see as part of the transfer station agreement as well as the contract extension, and we're looking forward to hearing back from them shortly, and we'll continue those discussions over the course of the next several weeks and months, and we'll provide the council with regular updates on how that goes.
Thank you. Now we're at provide services and facilities that are responsive to community needs, and that is number 1, and that's by October 1st, 2013. The police chief, who is the lead, working with the Community Development Director, City Attorney, Mayor Powers, Councilmember Campion, will develop and present to the City Council at least 2 strategies for enhancing code enforcement outreach regarding blighted and foreclosed properties within the City of Galt. Chief.
Evening, Mayor, Council. We met on the 19th of August regarding this plan and came up with a couple different strategies that we'll be bringing back to Council. But basically what we're doing is we met with code enforcement and the police department, offered our services as far as the police department through our CAPS volunteers to identify properties that appear to be run down, and then be able to do some research to assist code enforcement identifying properties that are in fact a problem.
Great, great. Thank you very much. And last, we've got improved community involvement and two-way communication. And that's number 4. On September 7th, 2013, Councilmember Payne and the Special Projects Administrator, working with the Rec Department, will hold an I Love My Park event at Walker Park. That was a great success.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And it was a great success, but I wanted to mention some of the people that made it that way. One of the main ones was Galt High School's Ag Department. They brought their 2 cows out and demonstrated milking, as well as some calves and some other animals. And you would be surprised how interesting that was. We had 2 teams come and play football from the city of Sacramento, and I swear they've never seen a cow before.
Oh, no.
They touched them and they watched, and the little kids were just so excited about it. Also like to mention our TAPS volunteers that were out there directing. I have no idea how many people were there, but there were a lot. Yeah. As well as a young man, Tyson Dovernick, I hope I said his name right, who built our horseshoe pits, bins, pits, as his Eagle Scout project, and they turned out really, really well. The shop local managed to get over 40 vendors out there. Councilman Cruz worked just as hard as anybody. Do you want to add something to that?
I think the final tally was 46 vendors out there. We were looking for space for them.
Yeah. And another hit was to have your picture made with the Pony America. And Barbara Greer brought her pony out. It's decorated. I don't know how they did it, but somehow it had an American flag on it. And people were standing in line to have their picture made, not just the kids, but families also were having their picture made. But one of the main goals was to get the people to realize that we have this awesome park, Walker Park. You'd be surprised how many people didn't know it was there. So I think we accomplished our goal and took a lot of effort from a lot of people. So thank you very much.
And thank you for suggesting it and bringing it up and all your hard work also.
Can I add something?
Yes, you can add something.
I went out there. Yes, I did. And I brought my brother. Now, most of you know I have a handicapped brother who's deaf and blind, and it was hotter than, well, it was really hot. My brother doesn't get out a whole bunch, but I got to tell you, I brought him over to the cows and the calves and the horses, and he started petting them and goes, "Oh, horsey." Sign language, that means horse. He had a great time, but I wanted to thank all the people that put that together, Miss Pan and everybody else. My brother just had a great time out there. He sweat a lot, but I brought him home. I didn't keep him out there too long. But it was a great, great day. Thank you.
Yeah, I was saying that the day that we have the 2 big events in Galt, the Independence Day Parade and this one that's over 100 degrees both times. But we'll have to talk to somebody about that next time.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing? Mark, do you want to talk about recognize, or maybe you would, the Olsons that own Robinson Seed? You read the proclamation to them?
Right, and they came out and received the proclamation, some of their family members, and they were the first business that the city of Galt Shop Local is going to recognize. They're going to recognize every year a business that's had sustainability here in the city of Galt and has added greatly to our city.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and on September 11th, the city clerk will hold the annual volunteer recognition luncheon. That will be you.
And we held our luncheon. It was a huge success. I believe we tried to recognize all of our volunteers. We had almost 70 volunteers come to the luncheon. I think everyone agreed the food was good and the company was good, and it was just actually a small gesture from the city's part in recognizing how important our volunteers are to us and to the citizens of Galt. And I'm not going to, I'll miss somebody if I start naming them, but they put in a lot of hours and really saved the city a lot of money. And I'll just leave it at that. And if anybody else,
they're great ambassadors to the city of Galt. They're dedicated, hardworking people that go out there and show their faces every day and commit some time and energy to working for our city. And we're always very appreciative of our volunteers. Okay, then we're moving along to AB 981 redevelopment bond proceeds, and that's you, Jason.
It's me.
It is.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. As I know the Council is aware, many members of the community, the city issued redevelopment bonds back in March of 2010, 2011 for work associated with the revitalization of our old town. There was money that was going to be utilized to improve 4th Street, T Street, Union Pacific Railroad property, adding parking, providing infrastructure for a future entertainment complex, and so forth. Unfortunately, shortly after that, in June of that year, the state legislature and the governor signed AB 26, which eliminated all redevelopment agencies in the state of California. That put our bonds in limbo. The legislation made it so that we couldn't move forward with spending the bond proceeds. We continued to pay debt service payments on that out of residual tax increment, but actual spending the money was put on hold and continues to be put on hold. The following year, in I think June of 2012, legislature passed AB 1484, which had some cleanup to AB 26 and made some new rules associated with the dissolution of redevelopment agencies. One of which was agencies that had issued bonds prior to 2011 could spend those bonds for the purpose for which they were originally issued. But there were a number of agencies throughout the state, including the city of Galt, that had issued bonds in 2011. We were still left without the ability to spend those bond proceeds. Overall, I think there's over 40 agencies throughout the state that have 2011 bonds. There's about $750 million worth of bond proceeds out there that cannot be spent for those infrastructure improvements. And in our case, that money is held in trust. It's in a bank in New York. It's not doing anybody any good. We could be using that money to create jobs, build infrastructure, and continue the effort we want to do down in the Old Town within the community. Again, there are a lot of agencies in the same position. Our bonds, the remaining bonds that we have, are about $6.7 million. There are some agencies out here that have much more out there than we do, obviously, with $750 million total. And so there's a coalition that has been formed to try to advocate for allowing agencies to spend those bond proceeds. There was a Assembly Bill 981 that was drafted earlier this year by Assembly Member Richard Bloom, who's a Democrat from Santa Monica, that would allow agencies that issued 2011 bonds to spend those bond proceeds as long as you get what's called a finding of completion, meaning you follow the steps necessary in the unwinding of redevelopment agencies, you followed all the rules, and once you get that, then you'd be able to do that. Unfortunately, that bill has been held up. It's in suspense file, and basically because the governor has indicated he's not supportive of the bill, and so it's just been held at this point. But there's this coalition that is getting together and trying to gain support, gather signatures, gather letters from local agencies, and encouraging this group to meet. Assemblymember Bloom is trying to get a meeting with the governor to try to work out any differences that are there, try to allow this piece of legislation to move forward, which would then allow the city as well as the other agencies to spend this 2011 bond money. So what I presented to you this evening is a letter of support for AB 981, for the effort that Assemblymember Bloom is undertaking to meet with the governor. We will if the council agrees tonight, we would submit that letter to the governor. We would make copies to our local representatives, Senator Galgiani and Assemblymember Pan, and so that we could get our legislative team hopefully continue to rally to support that bill. This current legislative session is over, but hopefully we can get something moving in that direction for next year. So I'm asking that the council consider this bill, consider this letter, and authorize the mayor to sign the letter supporting AB 981. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Council questions?
I think that it's a great idea, particularly how the courts have been going and ruling on this bond issue. I think the legislative process is the only way if we're going to ever be able to use those bond proceeds. And I agree with the letter and certainly hope that people in Sacramento see the light as well.
And I'll second that. I totally agree on that. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
Aye. Thank you, Liz. Now we're at the Public Works Department. Consultant contract amendments and supplemental change order authority for the Live Oak Pump Station and Force Main project. Steve?
Good afternoon or evening, Madam Mayor and council members. This item before you includes a recommendation for the approval of 2 consultant contract amendments related to extra work necessary to complete the Live Oak Force Main Lift Station construction project. We're also recommending that the city manager be granted additional change order authority within the project contingency amount previously approved by the City Council. By way of background, this is a large project that's installing over 2.5 miles of force and gravity mains and a large sewer lift station, which is sized for the future build-out of the general plan area for much of the city. The construction budget for this project is $5.8 million. It is a large project for Galt, and that does include about a $900,000 contingency, which was sort of a group contingency for the project to cover both contract changes and contract amendments with our consultants, as well as a variety of miscellaneous costs such as permit fees with the City of Sacramento, with the County of Sacramento, and other miscellaneous charges to deliver a project of this size. As with many large projects, you run into things that are unanticipated or will cause cost overruns. You can't build a $6 million project without breaking a few eggs, so to speak. And we indeed have run into several challenges in this project. First, we had a very slow start by the contractor. The contractor was awarded 14 months ago, and it took the contractor approximately 6 months to actually mobilize and begin construction. So we were into a 6-month delay before we ever got started. Secondly, we did run into a number of fairly significant utility conflicts with unforeseen utilities. The design engineer had spent a good deal of time working with the utilities to find and locate all of their plans so we could determine if there were going to be any conflicts and sort of design around those conflicts. Unfortunately, there were a couple of underground electric and AT&T crossings that were not identified by the utilities in advance of construction start, and when the contractor went out to call for the underground service alert markings of where all the utilities are, suddenly there show up some crossings, and so those had not been potholed, and so the contractor was directed to locate the depth and location specifically to determine if there was a conflict. And indeed, we did have to redesign a couple of segments there to lower and clear the both the SMUD and the AT&T crossings that were there. So that did incur some redesign costs. And then lastly, the general delays incurred at the start of the project were reflected as we spent the last year and a half through the project getting to the point we are today, and the contractor was required to be done within a specific number of working days. At this point, that required completion was July 8th behind it, so we're a couple of months into liquidated damages to the tune of $500 a day. Because of both the initial delays and now additional several months at the end of the project, our consultants are incurring additional costs just to continue the construction management, to lease office space, to be there for extended inspections that are still going on. So we're recommending the 2 contract amendments with the design engineer, Kennedy Jenks, in the amount of $83,000. We have vetted that. They had actually asked for $113,000, and after thorough review, we disallowed at a staff level and are recommending only $83,000 be paid, as some of their projects should have been within the original scope that they proposed under the original contract. Secondly, we're recommending a $99,403 contract amendment with Stantec for construction management, primarily due to dealing with some of those complications and the extra time involved in completing the project. And both of those amounts are projecting through completion, which we're still probably 6 to 8 weeks out on. So we've tried to take into account anticipated costs to complete the project. And then again, our third recommendation is that within the remaining available contingency, by the way, both of those changes are well within our current contract contingency. If you approve those, we'll still have a little over $300,000 remaining to deal with pending contract change orders related to roadway restoration. The county, we've gone down several miles of county roads, and some of those roads have not held up well under construction, and we're going to be recommending some change orders. Contractor will be responsible for a large portion, probably about 2/3 of that roadway restoration, but the county has got some requirements that go outside the scope of our original contract specifications, and we anticipate that we'll be bringing, once we get those final costs and work with the county, be bringing forward a change order recommendation in that it is getting to be fall, and we've even got some rain forecasts for this coming weekend. By recommending, or if you approve the city manager, the ability to work within that contract contingency, we wouldn't have to schedule another return to your council, and we could pick up several weeks of construction time and try to beat the rain and get those roadway restoration projects done. I realize that's a mouthful. There's a lot more detail in our staff report, but I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I do have another.
Oh, I know there's questions on this one. So we'll start with Barbara, since she spoke up first.
Even though this amount of money is covered with our contingency funds, I don't take lightly spending the money if we don't have to. So in reviewing the consultant's reasons for asking for this money, I have a number of questions. Starting off with the first one, why did contractor delay starting his work, and why has he continued staying behind? It seems like that is a major cause of these additional expenses. And like I said, I don't feel great about us picking the bill up because of him delaying his beginning, his starting. So if you could speak to that and what we hope to recoup possibly from this person.
Yes. Well, obviously, as your public works director, we take very seriously cost overruns, and whether, we prefer to have all the contingency come back into our fund balance to help fund future projects. But there's no such thing as a perfect set of plans and specs, going to some of the design changes and things. If you have spent the money to get a perfect set of specs, you probably paid too much for the design. So typically what you do is you try to get a comprehensive set of plans and specs that don't put undue risk onto the contractor, so that if we find something that we didn't know was buried there, that they're not bidding a lot of contingency into the construction bid, and then if the contract goes well, they walk away with a lot of extra money. So typically the owner, in this case the city, would deal with those risks as they arise and determine the best way to mitigate those costs. In this case, we also try to be firm with our consultants, but also fair. If there are extra out-of-scope changes, we look at those and try to determine what a fair cost for those would be, and that's in essence what we're recommending tonight. Back to your question about the contract delays. Candidly, the contractor is given a notice to proceed, and they have the specs, and they know what the start date and what the completion dates are. They're required to provide schedules and show how they can complete the work. And this has been a struggle from day one, prior to my even coming to the city, with this contractor. We can't demand they tell us why they're behind. It's their responsibility to get back on schedule, and they have not managed to do that after a 6-month late start. I could speculate. You probably don't pay me to speculate in public, but we are of the opinion that they might have had additional contract obligations elsewhere that were also behind, and perhaps paying damages to other agencies, and they just overcommitted, thinking those jobs would be done, and then by the time we awarded our contract, they were still tied up elsewhere. That's a guess on my part. But it does lead to probably about half of these cost overruns.
Can I add something to that, Barbara?
Yes,
Don't we issue penalties if they're not? So why aren't we charging them?
We intend to. As I mentioned briefly, they're beyond their required completion date, which then subjects the contractor to $500 per calendar day for every day to go to completion. By the time they're done, we're projecting we'll be about 4 months into that. So you can do the math at 30 days a month times $500 a day. We'll be taking that as a deduction. That will not fully cover these costs, but it'll help offset to some extent our cost overruns for the construction management and other city costs related to this. It is not a full recovery, and in fact we're having some internal discussion about is $500 a day enough on a $5 million contract. Again, if you put a lot of risk up front, then your prices come in higher, and that's money that you may or may not get your value out of. So it's a little bit of a tightrope you walk when you set the liquidated damages. If I had a do-over on this particular contract, we might have doubled the liquidated damage to $1,000 a day, and that would come pretty close to breaking even on this. But that's a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking at this point.
Is your question related to Barbara's?
No.
Okay, because she's got a few more. just letting you know. Thanks.
And it seemed like there were a number of things that happened, and I don't know if it was all because of the delay, but for example, Kennedy Jenks participation in bi-weekly meetings were not covered under the original contract. You know, I guess having been in construction myself, I'm used to having good contracts, good specs, and people doing what they say they're going to do. So, and we even hired a consultant to be sure that our contract was good and everything. So what happened there?
Well, again, it's a sort of a business decision. We know that we're going to have a construction manager, which is a consultant, and it's a third party, so that they're neutral and aren't necessarily biased to potentially cover up mistakes of the designer. They're there as a neutral third party to help us adjudicate construction claims and whatnot. We're paying them significant $150 an hour type prices to be there, and typically you wouldn't have the design engineer for additional hundreds of dollars an hour sitting in duplication of meetings. Typically you'd bring them in if there was a specific problem. Well, we were running into some problems and concerns knowing that the contractor was delayed and we were going to be probably having to have difficult discussions about liquidated damages. So early in the project we sort of made a command decision that rather than give the contractor an excuse that, well, we couldn't get the answers in a timely manner, we had to go back and forth with San Francisco office or whatever, we went ahead and on a biweekly basis had the consulting design engineer either teleconference into the meetings, for a 2-hour period, or in some cases drive over so we could try to resolve things on the spot. So that was a business decision on our part that we did not put it in the original scope, but once we saw that we might need that to help keep our gun loaded for contract management, went ahead and incurred those costs. But in fairness to the consultant, we're recommending they be reimbursed for those extra costs that weren't part of the original. They typically will estimate a number of meetings and a number of field visits as part of their scope. Well, now all of a sudden to add biweekly for the last 14 months has added a lot of meeting time that was not in the original budget.
And they even said that they had not anticipated doing bi-weekly meetings. So I'm wondering, was our contract, did it not cover that issue?
Yeah, we scoped that out. We didn't want to have 2 sets of consultants sitting in bi-weekly meetings if they weren't needed. Well, once it was determined that there might be a tactical advantage to having them there, we went ahead and invited them to teleconference in.
And is this part of the caused by the delay in starting?
It, in one part, is related to the delay, and in another part is sort of proactive on our part to assure there weren't further delays that the contractor could use as an excuse to be forgiven for their delays. We wanted to get those submittals turned around quickly, and if they're right in the same room, we could sort of cut through the middleman and make decisions on the spot by having decision makers either on the phone or at the meeting.
Okay. And there was costs incurred because of the utilities that we didn't know they were there. So my question is, why were not all utilities located before the work began? Was SMUD at the construction meeting in the beginning?
By construction meeting, sort of the pre-construction meeting we held. To be honest with you, I don't know if they were at that meeting or not. Sean Griffin is here. He's saying they were. And again, I touched on it in the introduction. Is the consultant did an admirable job twice submitting to the utilities to have them confirm the location. Then I believe there were efforts to pothole the utilities where we were potential conflicts to find out assure what the alignment and depth were so we could miss those. And then when we got out and started USA marking in the field, lo and behold, here's 2 crossings that weren't on plans. So that was a red flag that came up as construction was getting started. So sure enough, did some potholing, found those were indeed going to require some redesign.
Does SMUD not hold some responsibility for that? I mean, you'd think they'd know where their utilities are?
I don't know if they could be held legally responsible for that.
Maybe morally?
I would say it's more of a moral responsibility, but typically they're also being disrupted and required to do things. They don't get any money for reviewing our plans. We sort of hold our, they're operating in the city under a franchise agreement, and we hold that. In this case, it's out in the county, so we're on a little more tenuous ground, but we try to get their cooperation. It just sort of falls into hit the cracks, and somebody missed it. Most of the utilities out there in the country are overhead. These were a couple of underground crossings that were not picked up, and AT&T also had one. It's not all SMUD's responsibility.
That's amazing. Okay, in the report, it says that the contractor was responsible for structural damage to the pavement. will they be paying for that because of the damage they did? Now the county is requiring us to do the whole width of the road. And I guess I'm saying, if they hadn't done the damage originally, would we have this additional cost?
The original encroachment permit we got with the county for the project was fairly reasonable. It basically, you would replace your trench, you'd repave your trench section. In reality, particularly on, having a brain fade with the name of the road out there, Midway, thank you. Midway Avenue is a dead-end two-lane road with a probably sort of evolved over the years, started as a dirt road and got some oil put on it, and then maybe got some chip seals or additional oil added to it. There basically is no structural section. There might be about an inch of asphaltic mixed dirt material and then native under that. Well, when you put traditional standard construction equipment on it, truckloads of gravel and pipeline and excavators, the road basically blew up for the south half mile of roadway. And you know, upon retrospect, we probably could have anticipated that would happen. We do require the contractor to preserve and protect existing facilities, but if they're using standard construction equipment, and we haven't specified some special equipment, if there's damage that's beyond reasonable care, the road just fell apart. You get into a gray area of whose responsibility is that. Well, sort of adding insult to injury, the county has some fine print in their encroachment permit with the city and the contractor that says basically that any additional damage will be restored to county requirements. Well, so we've been having some dialogue with them over the last 6 months over, well, what are we going to do to restore Midway? And in final discussions with them, basically their standard is if a roadway is damaged, that it has to be replaced to new road standards. Well, we really didn't have that structural section to begin with out there, so that's sort of a betterment. But on the other hand, if my hat was reversed and I was working with my old county hat that I used to wear, you know, if somebody comes in and tears your road up, why should that be the county's problem? So I can understand where they're coming from, but we're still having discussion. We're getting pricing on several different alternatives to restore the road, and if the price to do what the county is requesting is exorbitantly higher than what a reasonable alternative that doesn't include a lot of betterment, we might be having some further negotiations with the county and try to find some reasonable compromise. We're not recommending a change order at this time, but because of the weather and time sensitivity, getting the contract authority to whatever we negotiate to then direct the contractor to immediately proceed with probably in the next 3 weeks or so will allow us to get that done before it starts raining.
My final question is, we had a construction manager on site, I guess, from during the 6 months before they started. There was additional charges for the construction manager. What was that about?
Well, they set up an office contemplating the contractor would start. The contractor actually gave us a schedule showing that they intended to start, and it was sort of a weekly promise that they'd be there next week. And in the meantime, we had them working on some of these utility conflict type issues, coordinating with the county. We identified early on that we were going to, the contractor proposed a proposal to use county property near the lift station for a disposal site for all the extra dirt that would be displaced by the pipeline, and we needed a county grading permit for that. So we had the construction manager working on those types of issues, trying to get those grading permits and other things so that when the contractor did arrive, that we'd be ready to go. When they continued not to arrive, we did ramp back on the amount of time that we're spending, but the contractor had committed to this, and the consultant, I should say, had committed to our project and therefore hadn't taken other work. So we worked hard to keep them busy and getting, to the extent that we could, getting submittals reviewed and things that would keep them busy while we waited on the contractor.
I appreciate all your answers, and I know that we have to move forward with this, and we're going to have to support the extra money if we want to complete the project. It just seems like, I don't know, it seems to me like the city's taking a hit that we shouldn't have to take. And I wanted to be sure that I made that point.
Well taken, and we share your concerns, and again are doing some internal review on maybe future liquidated damage amounts based on project size, as well as are there any things that we could do better and tighten up our consultant specifications and some of our contracting language. Again, we're looking at a balanced risk. You can either pay for it up front if we put a lot of risk in the bidding process or consultant proposal process, or you can try to manage it, get a good price up front, and then sort of take it on the chin when there are problems during the project, and we're trying to balance those risks.
I understand that. I know it's different from residential construction, but it's just hard to get used to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Cruz?
I'm going to go back to the county issue with the roads. It sounds like, reading through this, they had subpar roads to start with, but since we've taken equipment through there, we're going to bring it up to levels that they want it at. Is that correct?
That is their current position under their encroachment requirements.
So in essence, what you're saying is the county wants us to rebuild their roads for them.
That's the request. Of course, they fell apart on our watch, so and I'm not defending their request other than to say they're looking for betterment as part of restoring the roads, and that discussion and negotiation is still ongoing.
And I guess adding, are you finished?
Well, just one last thing. Why are we required to have permits to dump soil on our own property?
Well, when you move dirt and change grades, it requires a grading permit, and in this case it falls to the jurisdiction, and the old sewer treatment plant pond sites out on Live Oak Road are in the unincorporated area. So for us to grade on our property, much like a private property owner, we need proper grading permits through the county to do that.
So they are not city within the city limits, correct?
Correct. The current wastewater treatment plant is an island of wholly owned city incorporated area. But the old treatment plant, I don't know if it ever was or if it reverted back to county when we no longer were using it for an active site. But it is in the county, therefore we fall into their land use requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, I have just one little question, and I promise I'll stop asking too. But with regards to the road, was whoever was driving that equipment didn't know that the road would not take the equipment? And I mean, if you know what you're driving and where you can go with it, why would you go on a road that wouldn't work?
Well, when your pipeline is right down the middle of a dead-end road, you don't have many options of where else you're going to go. In this case, it was street-legal vehicles that, to some extent, were being out delivering gravel, delivering asphalt, delivering pipe materials. If the road won't stand up to legal load limits, then that's a problem. I think the bidder can go out and look at the project before he bids it, but you've got to expect the road to handle legal loads. Now, to the extent that they used, and actually Barbara had an earlier question that I'll try to finish answering. I realized that I wasn't trying to do a two-step around it, and the question was, well, why isn't the contractor paying for some of the damage? And the answer is, our current estimates are that the contractor will be on the some of these restoration costs. We'll be probably picking up somewhere between 50% and 2/3 of that cost for things that they could have done to prevent the damage, but there are other costs and betterment sections that the contractor legitimately had no way to forecast that would be a requirement, and that sort of is the owner's risk. So we're probably looking at the city as the owner picking up about 1/3 of the cost, depending on the final outcome.
Please don't tell me we have to have another consultant come out there and tell us who has to take what part of it.
No more consultants on this project.
Any more questions?
I just want to say something real quick. I wanted to go back a little bit to the Kennedy Jinx issue. The third bullet here, you said design modifications related to undisclosed utilities. That really bothers me. I know it's back to the SMUT deal, but and then it says a new service for a connection for the McGee Correctional Facility. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? What's happening with that?
Relative to the undisclosed utilities, all we can do is ask the utilities where they're located. We don't typically expect a consultant to go out with ground penetrating radar, so I think we probably beat that horse a little bit already. As far as the McGee Correctional Facility, that was actually part of a settlement agreement with the Roman Catholic Church lawsuit, was that as part of that agreement, we agreed that we would put in a stub out. Their current McGee Correctional Facility lateral is served from Roman Catholic property, and as part of the negotiated settlement that the city approved a year and a half ago or so, we agreed to put in a stub out so that at such time as it made sense in the future to connect, that would move that connection point. So this is just to put a stub out from our force main across Midway to their frontage, and then the McGee facility would be responsible to actually relocate the connection to that point in the future as needed.
Because we charge them a fee, correct? The facility itself, yearly?
Them being, it's not connected. It's a future stub out that is part of a settlement agreement. At such time as they were to relocate, would probably be part of an expansion, and we would have an opportunity for impact fees at that point.
Yes.
On the same subject, Steve, this is Kurt. But that settlement agreement was done before the contract was let, so that really wasn't a complication as part of this whole thing. It should have been contemplated within the original scope of service, correct?
It could have been, but was not. Staff did not bring that to the design consultant's attention until after the final plans were already being circulated for bids, so we added that as a change order.
Well, I agree with the frustration, I think, expressed by the other council members. You know, it's not one issue. It seems to be a multitude of issues, and you know, and not to point fingers at any individual, but it's highly unfortunate that puts the city in the position we're in.
And I believe I might have misspoke, and John Griffin is here as a staff augmentation, and if you have a correction, please.
The McGee Correctional Facility, they already do have a service.
Right.
And this would be just to relocate it closer to their facility instead of running all the way across the Roman Catholic property and tying in to the force main that's on the access road.
Okay.
Could you repeat that, Steve?
Basically, John was sharing that this stub out is for a future relocation of their current connection, which again runs across the Roman Catholic property, and it is not a live connection at this time. It's part of creating an opportunity for a future relocation. I think probably the Catholic Church's interest was not having a pipeline running across their property, sort of creating a cloud on their title or whatever.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
And if I can just finish real quick, I got to agree with, well, again, with most council. This, and you did say something about tightening it up. This seems real loose to me. This bothers me a bit. And I know we have to do certain things, but I would expect that hopefully in the future that we can clamp down on some of these folks and not take the brunt of the cost of some of these things, because it's really bothersome. I just want to go on record as saying that to me. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. So can you please read the recommended action, please, Liz?
And adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to take the following actions related to the Live Oak Pump Station and Force Main project. Number 1, execute contract amendment number 6 with Kennedy Jenks Consultants in the amount of $83,000. And number 2, execute contract amendment number 3 with Stantec Consulting in the amount of $99,403. And number 3, execute future construction contract change orders with Marquet Pipeline for extra work necessary to complete the project within the available contingency previously authorized by the City Council.
Do I have a motion?
As I mentioned before, we don't like it, but in order to finish the project, I think we have to do this, so I will make the motion.
Reluctant second.
Call for the vote, please, Liz.
Vice Mayor Singleton?
Reluctant, aye.
Councilmember Payne?
Aye.
Councilmember Campion?
With reservation, yes.
Councilmember Cruz?
Aye.
Mayor Powers?
I'm going with reservation also. Aye. Okay, now we're on to, I'm going to adjourn the Galt City Council meeting and convene to the Galt Successor Agency. Roll call for the board members, please. Liz.
Board Member Singleton?
Here.
Payne. Present. Campion. Here. Cruz.
Here.
Powers.
Here. Okay, well, no public comment, correct?
No speaker sheet.
Okay, on the information and consent calendar, we just have one item, and that's the minutes of the regular meeting of September 3rd.
Correct. With the same housekeeping issue, with the meeting was called to order by the
Vice Mayor.
Chair.
Vice Chair, yeah, Vice Chair, right, yeah.
Okay, do I have you had a motion, right, Councilmember Cruz? Second, please. Second. Okay, call for the vote.
Board members Singleton.
Aye.
Payne.
Aye.
Campion.
Aye.
Cruz.
Aye.
Powers.
Aye. We're going to adjourn the Galt Successor Agency and reconvene to the Galt City Council, and what's to the city clerk's report.
Okay, a quick item. In reviewing the agenda calendar for the next meeting, staff realized that for various reasons there were only a few items on our schedule for October 1st. There would be no impact on these items to move them to the October 15th meeting. So at this time, staff is recommending cancellation of the October 1st City Council meeting.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Sure, second.
Gosh, you guys just don't want to miss the meeting. You have so much fun. Darn. Okay, call for the vote, please.
Vice Mayor
Aye.
Councilmember Payne. Aye. Councilmember Campion.
Aye.
Councilmember Cruz.
Aye.
Mayor Powers.
Aye. I see staff all going, come on, you guys, vote.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple reminders. The September 19th Beautification Committee meeting has been canceled. There's a Commission on Aging meeting on September 26th at 5:15 in the California Room over at the Recreation Department. The meeting of October 1st has been canceled. There is a Youth Committee meeting on October 7th at 6 p.m. in the Council Chambers. There's a Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on October 9th at 7 p.m. in the Council Chambers. There's a Planning Commission meeting on October 10th at 6:30 in the Council Chambers, and that takes us to our next meeting of October 15th.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Okay, now comments by staff.
I think we have a couple. I'll start with the chief.
I see him reaching for the
Yeah,
microphone.
it was
That gives me a good indicator, yeah.
I'll be first. Approximately 2.5 to 3 months ago, we submitted a hiring grant to the COPS office, which is the Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services. We got preliminary notification today that, in fact, we will be awarded that grant. But prior to that, we have to bring it back to council. There is a match required with this. There's some waiver things, so we're still working on it, but it looks like we have the possibility of receiving that. The grant itself was for an officer to work with kids to mostly at risk through the school district and possibly an SRO program. So we're hoping that we're able to do that, match, and or get the waiver as far as not to have the match, and that's some of the things that will be coming up in the next few weeks regarding the fact when we get official notification that in fact we have the grant.
Thank you, that's really good news.
And I just want to say, Chief, publicly, thank you, and please thank Dana at the same time for getting that grant. I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that.
I will.
Mr. Winkler, you were reaching for your microphone.
Well, since we're having such a good time with these large construction contracts, good news, bad news. Good news is we're seriously getting started on the roundabouts project up on Twin Cities Road. With that, we'll, pardon our dust, are going to be some obstructions. We do have a first of a major set of road closures coming. It'll be on the southbound Highway 99 off-ramp to Twin Cities Road, and from the point of the off-ramp to Twin Cities will be closed in both directions. There will be signed detours and changeable message boards. Basically, the detour will be to pass the exit down to Walnut, take the hook ramp back north to Twin Cities Road, and this will be the first in a series of sort of rolling closures that'll be closed starting September 23rd, a week from Monday, this coming Monday, and through about November 1st. If we get done a little sooner, so much the better, and we'll be continuing to both publicize and on the city's website closure notifications so people can plan ahead. But as we sort of work through through each quadrant, we'll have rolling closures, and at some point, we'll be also, just as a heads up, have to close the park and ride lot for a period of about a month and a half to allow expedited construction so we can get this done before winter weather sets in.
Thank you. And somebody just asked me that today, so I'm glad I've got all the answers. So get off of Walnut and come back for the first
Right.
part.
There will be detour plans and details on our website.
Great. Thank you.
Can I ask them a question?
No.
Oh, come on.
Okay, you can have one.
What's going to happen to our express commuter bus that picks up all those people there at that park and ride?
That's a great question, and the commuter bus people have been asking the same question as of some of the ridership, and we're working with them, trying to determine if we can come up with a temporary alternate location, working with the shopping center owners or possibly as far east as the Rite Aid site. Obviously, we need to talk to some private property owners, but the donut shop down at near Carillion would be excited to have it in their backyard. So we're working on a plan to basically probably take them off at a different point and relocate the pickup point. At a worst case scenario, we might have to come down and get on at City Hall. But we're trying to keep something up north on the Twin Cities corridor there.
It's such a successful program. I don't want to see anything happen to it.
Yeah, don't mess with Barbara's
Come up with
baby,
a,
really.
yeah.
Well, we promise not to do a big
Better not.
closure. How's that?
Okay, okay.
She knows where you work.
Anyway, Jason,
Nope,
you?
that's
Oh,
it.
okay.
Really?
Council member?
Wow.
Start with you, Council Member Cruz.
I just want to reiterate what Barbara's already talked about. The Country in the Park was a huge success. Looking forward to our second annual next year. She's got, no. Other than that, that's all I've got. It was a lot of fun. I can't say enough about the Parks and Recreation employees out there. They just were phenomenal.
Great. Council Member Singleton.
Yeah, if the kids left, I was going to thank them again from Galt High School, the best for doing what they've done with our memorial for the Kevin Town Memorial. That's all I have.
Council Member Payne.
I have a lot. No, I don't.
Council Member Campion down there?
Wait a minute.
Oh, I thought
you. No, I do have something.
Never mind. Council Member Payne has some.
I was just messing with you.
Okay.
Attended the first 5 advisory committee. As you may or may not remember, that's a program that's funded by the tobacco tax for programs for 0 to 5. And Galt was recognized for their school readiness program at Fair Site. And one of the comments that was made by the advisory committee chair was that Galt's community seems to have a lot of heart and care about their people.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to share that.
Absolutely. That was nice. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that people notice that of our citizens. That's great.
Council Member Campion.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear through the city clerk that the new sound system will be going in, because I can tell you on this end it's been very difficult to hear the meeting. So I'm glad to hear about that. The Country in the Park was an excellent event, and I did see Mark out there. He looked a little warm, I think, from all of his duties, and the Parks and Rec staff did do a great job. It was an excellent outing. That's all I have.
Thank you.
What about our invitation to the luau?
Excuse me?
Where's our invitation to your luau?
Yeah, start swimming.
I just want to add that I did have a good time at your event at the park. It was very good, and it was really well attended. Also wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday, a lot of us will be in the city of Sacramento at the League of California Cities annual conference. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank goodness.